Yes, guys, welcome back to a more LB video. This is the second channel. Main account is in the description, as is Footy Judge Mo. Make sure you are subscribing to all the accounts, and of course, make sure you drop a like on this video. We are today going to be speaking about Man City versus Liverpool. And the reason I got Mo on here isn't for his woeful football takes. It's for his independent views on this game. Of course, he's not associated with City or Liverpool. And I really want to sort of get into the crux of the game. But before we do, bro, how are you? Let us know where we can find you as well for the subscribe.
I'm doing fine. You can find me on Footy Judge Mo, or you can type Judge Mo. It's the only channel that will pop up. You'll see my face on it, on the logo, and just give me a subscription. Like my last video, as I say, or the last 10, if you want to really help me. You can just do that. And just you can find me here sometimes on LB. You can find me on Hassam's channel, on the Football Terrace sometimes, and Footy Judge Mo.
Cool. All right, well, let's get into it. A big clash, Saturday morning kickoff. Liverpool have had lots of them. They don't particularly do very well in them. How big is this game, bro, on Saturday? Is it a title decided? Will it go a long way in deciding where the title's going for? Like, how big is this game?
Not for Manchester City. I don't think this game. Manchester City, of course, they want to win. They are playing at home at the Etihad. Has been a fortress. Liverpool haven't won there since 2015, which is before the Pep Guardiola era. But I think for Liverpool, it is the measuring stick. If Liverpool get a result or play well at the Etihad, they know that they are within touching distance from Manchester City, and it will be January when you get a DM or you enforce the center back that I can go toe to toe with this Manchester City team. But if Man City blow Liverpool away, Liverpool will know that we are rebuilding this midfield. We're not there yet. City are a ready team at the moment, even with the new additions. So I think for Manchester City, it's the same for Arsenal versus Manchester City. The game, it was a make or break for Arsenal to know where they are. But for Manchester City, we know that with the new players, you're still like getting to know each other, even though you're top of the league. That tells me that, well, it's on the others to catch up, not on Manchester City to prove anybody wrong.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. For me, I've said this before. Obviously, I want us to win, but if we do lose or draw, I don't think it's the end of the world for the point that you've mentioned. I do think you're right. I think it's a bigger game for Liverpool. Again, I don't think if Liverpool don't win, I don't think that means they can't win the league, because they've never beaten Manchester City in the Premier League at the Etihad under Jurgen Klopp. I've seen in your stream earlier on. So that's not really a great tell. But if Liverpool was to come to the Etihad Stadium at 12:30 kickoff, which they don't really like, apparently, according to the Liverpool fans, and beat us for the first time at the Etihad in the Premier League under Klopp, I think that would tell you a lot about where they are and how how better they. Because the thing is with Liverpool, for me, right, is I always thought Liverpool this season were going to be a threat, but I thought their midfield would cost them over the 38-game season. However, their midfield, in my view, is outperforming what I ever expected them to do. What's been your take on Liverpool's midfield? And do you think that they are outperforming maybe what you expected at the beginning?
Yes, on the eye, if you watch the Liverpool game, you'd think, oh, this team concedes so many chances. So they started this way. Lately, it hasn't been the case, because we know that the best defender in the league is Virgil van Dijk. At his peak, he is unplayable. You can't dribble him. He leads the defense, and also he stops counterattacks for the opposition. And Virgil van Dijk in the last 3-4 games, you see, he has been absolutely great. He has been slowly getting back to his peak, and that's what's helping them. What Liverpool are doing is that they are bypassing the midfield. They are compact, very compact going forward, so they don't have to go through the midfield like back in the days. They're going directly from that first part of the pitch to the last part of the pitch. And this is why we're not seeing the DM problem. It's McAllister getting to Salah, Szoboszlai getting to Salah, getting to Diaz, and they don't play a lot in the midfield. They are now a transition-based team, and I think this team, Liverpool team, at the moment, can actually win the league. However, they might fall short, because I think Man City will have another gear to click on. But I think this Liverpool team has proven to us, if it was not for the Luis Diaz goal that didn't go in, Liverpool would be unbeaten. Okay, factually, that goal is a legitimate goal. It should have stood. Liverpool would have been sitting here saying, well, you said our midfield is bad, but we're actually unbeaten. and we're actually outscoring the oppositions. Alisson has been top notch. Van Dijk has been coming back to the form. And even with Robertson injured, he's still winning games. And I think Mohamed Salah is playing out of this world, because even if he's not playing, this is what people don't understand. People just look at numbers, but they don't watch the game. Mohamed Salah, even in the games he's not playing well, he's scoring the goals that win them the game. So that means, well, what if the guy now gets back into the form where he's dribbling everybody? Luis Diaz had the problem for weeks now with his parents, and they are still winning games. So that means it's interchangeable, that front line. Szoboszlai has been good. Gravenberch has been absolutely phenomenal. Liverpool has played, I think, every team that they have played was away from home. They played Chelsea away, if I'm not mistaken. They played Spurs away. They're going to play Man City away. Who else? They played Newcastle away. Newcastle away. So at the moment, Liverpool, as we say, they're not strong. They freaking played everybody away from home. Every big team in the top 6 or 7.
And Mo as well, you mentioned Salah. I mean, this is his record this season. I mean, look at this form that he's in. Absolutely incredible. I mean, he's a fantastic player, and City going to have to, deal with him very well now. In the last years, it's been obviously out on that left-hand side, Nathan Ake, who's done against Salah. And I think he's actually done all right against Salah for the most part. Right. This year, it's probably going to be Josko Gvardiol. How do you see that battle going? Because, of course, Ake is more of like an out-and-out defender. He likes the one-on-ones. That's why, obviously, Pep Guardiola played him and Walker as the fullbacks last year, because they're able to defend. I'm not saying Gvardiol isn't a good defender. I think he is. But how do you see that battle going? And do you think maybe if both players are fit, Pep Guardiola could consider throwing Ake back in there to protect Salah? Or do you reckon Pep will stick with Josko Gvardiol for the attacking option that he brings?
Pep will stick to Gvardiol, in my opinion. However, he will need protection. What happened in the game against Chelsea, and that's Cole Palmer, we're not talking about Mohamed Salah, is that Rodri wasn't able to actually help the defense on both sides. Kyle Walker on the right side and Gvardiol on the left side on Cole Palmer. So that left them isolated, because Rodri himself was isolated because you had Bernardo Silva and Alvarez playing next to him, and that leaves Rodri's defensive, like he was so isolated. I think he's going to stick to Gvardiol. But if Matías Núñez is fit, I think he needs to play, because you need another defensive midfielder next to Rodri to be able to help in the transition. Because if you go all guns blazing and you leave yourself isolated in the counter-attack, I think Salah will tear him apart. Gvardiol, not because Gvardiol is a bad player, because Salah is way more experienced than Gvardiol. Salah has, 10, 12, 11 more years on Gvardiol. I don't think Pep Guardiola is naive. He knows the game. He sees what Salah can do if you leave him isolated one-on-one. And I think you need another defensive midfielder there, because John Stones isn't available. If John Stones available, problem solved. John Stones and Rodri can stop the transition. Simple as that. But John Stones isn't there. So you need... Go ahead.
A solution then. Do you think we might see Gvardiol on the left back, Bernardo Silva playing on the left side of a midfield, also dropping back, and I know you're not a massive fan, but Grealish left wing, because then you've got Bernardo who can come back, close the gap, making it difficult for Salah to put inside. You've got Gvardiol as the standard defender, and you've also got Grealish coming back, squeezing the space. That potentially then sort of limits Salah. It does probably maybe give some space maybe for Trent.
Trent in the middle. That would give space to Trent, because if Bernardo Silva on the left, because if you play a midfield trio, we're going so tactical here, which is something I like. If you're going trio midfield, Bernardo, Alvarez, and Rodri, and if Bernardo goes to the left to help Gvardiol, well, that leaves Rodri still isolated with Alvarez against McAllister, Szoboszlai, Trent inverting as well. Who's going to face Trent when he inverts and try to play make from the middle? I think that would be I think Bernardo Silva should take Trent out of the game completely in that midfield, especially when Trent has the ball at his feet. The problem comes in, if you look at at that midfield, it needs another box-to-box midfield. I know you guys say, you Man City fans always say it's Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva, for me, is a 60-40, is a 70-30. That means he's more attacking than defending. That's the thing. So this trio If they do so, they can actually take Salah out of the game. And Grealish was praised many times on his defensive abilities and how he tracks backs and help the defense. You do that, it's absolutely phenomenal if you do that. But the midfield, it's a dilemma without John Stones. People just underestimate how good John Stones is in
Yeah,
the midfield.
it's
People
true.
just sit and say, well, he's a center back. Well, he actually has been a midfielder for the majority of last season, and he has been doing freaking amazing. You just don't want to say it because you just don't want to say how genius Pep is in transforming John Stones. It's a dilemma you have, but again, you're playing at home. I think City should be on the front foot. However, imagine Nunes, Salah, and Diaz running at your defense 3-on-3 on the transition. You will need numbers in the midfield because Liverpool will have a lot of people in the midfield. It's an amazing game. However, I want to say something. I want to pick your brains and I want to ask you a question. Do you think this Liverpool team is suited to have a counter tactics to Pep Guardiola than any of the other Liverpool teams, the transition based team, the counter attacking football? Like all the other Liverpool teams, you used to split the halves. You take position, they take position. But now this Liverpool team can play on the transition for 90 minutes. They did it against Newcastle, did it against Spurs. Do you think they can hurt you on the transition?
Okay, so if you're speaking about purely transition, purely counter-attacking play, there's one player that terrifies me at Liverpool when speaking specifically about counter-attacking football. And that player, Darwin Núñez. He is, and I think you only have to look at the Newcastle game at St James's Park earlier on in the season to prove my point 100%. Liverpool in that game, they shouldn't have got beat. They should have come away from that game humbled, with probably 2-3 goals. If it wasn't for Alisson in that game, they would have lost the game 3-4-0. I mean, Almiron hit the post. I think he had
Barnes missed a two on the goalkeeper.
yeah, exactly. They should have destroyed Liverpool. Liverpool stayed in the game, and two pretty nothing balls, pretty standard balls behind the defense. Who's there? Núñez, top class finishes. That's something that they've not really had in the past. Liverpool. They've had Firmino, who's more of he likes to drop deeper. He's more of I'll build up the play and then let the wingers go, and that's how they typically played. Whereas Núñez is straight over the top. And if City are pressing up the pitch, which we will do, we will press up the pitch and try and squeeze Liverpool in. It only takes one ball over the top, and if they play Núñez, which we don't even know if they're going to do because he doesn't play Núñez every single game. If they play Núñez, which surely he's going to do, that ball over the top is going to be very, very dangerous. Ederson is going to have to come off his line, or if he's not fit, Stefan Ortega, they're going to have to come off the line. That's obviously going to be a risk. They're going to have to make sure that they get the ball there. So potential red card for the goalkeeper wouldn't be the most stupid thing in the world. So yeah, I do think for me, Núñez scares me in that system. I hope Núñez doesn't play. I really, really do. Even though Jota's a great player and they've got other players in there who are great players, Núñez is really the player that scares me. So that would be my answer. So to answer the question that you answered, question was, yes, this Liverpool team scares me the most in transition.
Out of all the teams that played before, because before Liverpool would press Man City at the Etihad, Liverpool never sat back.
No, they didn't.
Never.
No.
People keep saying that Jurgen Klopp was a little bit flexible. Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola were never flexible, by the way. I remember the games when they would split halves. One team has the ball in the half and the other one has the other half. Now, this game can be completely different than any of the Klopp versus Pep era games that we have seen. But it's the Etihad, been a fortress. Haaland back was rested. If he's fit, he's fit. Now Phil Foden has been absolutely brilliant, because we spoke a lot about Liverpool. I don't want to speak about Manchester City. Foden has been playing very well. People just want to knock him down. Every time I'm watching the guy now, yet he's not getting a goal every game, but I think he has been providing the flair that Riyad Mahrez used to provide, cutting inside, doing this, you know what I mean, terrorizing defenses. And I like that from a winger. That's why I'm not a big fan of Jack Grealish. Everybody knows that. But I like what Foden is doing. I like what Doku's doing, terrorizing defenses, pinning the. I say it to my team when I coach, pin the other team back. Make sure the defender is always worried about you. He's not comfortable. He's worried about where are you gonna go. Now you have two wingers that do that, and with Julian Alvarez playing that false 9 or number 10 position, I think that offense is complementing Haaland and instead of taking away from Haaland. Because Haaland doesn't have to do any other work. Sometimes he does, but that offensive line is, for me, is too offensive. But you can afford to do that at home, even against a Liverpool team. You can afford 100%. You can afford that.
Yeah, and I think if you play Bernardo in the midfield, Bernardo gives you a little bit of protection, and he gives you something going forward as well. But yeah, I mean, in terms of City, I mean, I'm pretty not. I won't say confident. I mean, I am confident, I guess, because we're top of the league, and this Liverpool team have never beaten us at the Etihad under Klopp in the Premier League. But yeah, I think for me the big one is who's going to play on the wing, because we've got three wingers who, if we're being honest, Mo, all three of them deserve to play based on recent form. And like you say, even though you're not a massive fan of Grealish,
But he has been. By the way, I want to reiterate. Sorry to interject. Jack Grealish in the Young Boys game, and who did you play last game? If I'm not, I can't remember who you played last
Bournemouth,
game.
maybe
The Bournemouth game. He created abundance of chances by actually being a direct winger, like Aston Villa, which is I was surprised. So you have this in your locker. So I get what you're saying. When on recent form, Jack Grealish has been doing what Doku has been doing. He's been driving at people. He has been dribbling. He has been creating chances. So I get what you're saying now. I don't know who you play. I think you play Jack Grealish just because of experience.
Here's the thing. Liverpool fans, when I'm speaking to Liverpool fans, they're saying City should put Doku up against Tsimikas. That's what they think. On the right hand side, say Tsimikas is the weak link in the side. You should put Doku up against it. That's what they're saying. They're saying if you want to really expose us, that's what you're saying. I don't think he's going to do that. I think what he's going to do is I think he'll go Jack Grealish on the left, and I think he'll go. And one of the reasons for why is he going to do that? One of the reasons is to protect against Salah, because he'll work extremely hard, and I just feel that in the big games, and this is a big game, he'll play. And on the right, I think he'll go Foden. And by the way, Foden against Tsimikas is very good as well. That is a very strong. We're not going from Doku to someone who completely can't take on a player. In fact, if you actually look at Foden's goal involvements when he plays on the right hand side, it's very, very strong, and one of his strongest positions for goal involvements in a game. But yeah, I think that's how he'll go. In my view, I think he'll go Grealish left, Foden right, Doku on the bench.
Okay, here's a question for you. Do you think a midfield of Rodri, Bernardo, Alvarez is balanced? In my opinion, it's imbalanced because Alvarez is a striker. You're literally playing 2 against 3 in the midfield. Bernardo still is an offensive player. People just forget that Bernardo starts as a winger. You need another midfielder there. And you're telling me Akanji is going to invert. People say Akanji is going to invert in the midfield, but we've seen what happened against Chelsea. Basically, you were outnumbered in that midfield, especially when Chelsea had the ball. Do you think he can bench Alvarez?
Could he bench Alvarez?
Especially coming back from South America. Was he with the Argentinian team?
He did play last night, yeah. I don't know. Let's have a look at the tactical part. Maybe we could have a look at this and see how we could expect Manchester City's midfield to set up. I think so. What you're saying is, can Manchester City play Rodri in midfield with Bernardo Silva and Alvarez? This is your question. That's your question.
That's too for me. That's too offensive against a good Liverpool team. That would work against Bournemouth. That even would work against Villa. But against Liverpool, I think that's too offensive.
Okay, so here's the thing. He's either going to do one of two things for me. He's either going to play. Let's just get the defense in then. I'll show you what I mean. So I think obviously John Stones is out as you've already mentioned.
Yes.
Ruben Diaz will play.
Akanji and Walker.
Yes. Akanji, who has been very good and was probably the only good defender against Chelsea out of the 4 that played. He was the only one that played who was actually pretty good. So here's the question. You could either go into a system like this, double pivot these two here, and Alvarez in the center position. Now, that gives you the protection, and I think that sort of solves one aspect of what you're saying. However, my issue then is creativity-wise with Alvarez. Whilst he's had a great season, will he create enough in this channel here? Because he's not a creative player. You know, he's got some assists, but he's not the best creative player in the world. Do you trust him to go in this position here and provide chances for Haaland? That's the question that I have. Alternatively, the brave move, which he might do, is sort of say, okay, well, Bernardo can be in a sort of hybrid role, as we've seen him do quite a lot, and sort of Akanji steps into midfield. Now, when we've seen this before, we've not really seen him go in there permanently like with John Stones. He sort of goes in and out. So that
the Chelsea game, he did that in the Chelsea game. Look at the heat map for him.
He did. But that's a brave call. And then you're leaving these through. And actually, I think if he was to do that, I would actually think there's a chance that Ake would play here instead of Gvardiol if he was to go for this system. So for me, it all depends on how brave Pep Guardiola is going to be. Based off of what happened at Chelsea, I would be surprised if he went for that second system, Mo. I would be surprised.
I would actually think that he would play Matías Núñez there, and he would bench Alvarez.
The thing is, though, Matías Núñez, I mean,
he's come back from injury, though. That's a problem, big problem.
Yeah,
but Matías, I know your stance on Matías Núñez, but Matías Núñez is a more defensive player than Bernardo. We know that, right? He's more physical than Bernardo.
I'll give you that. Yeah,
he's more defensive than Bernardo. He provides more protection than Bernardo. I don't think Pep Guardiola would think this game. I don't know what he's gonna do. He's kind of like this guy that keeps you on your toes. But I think if I know that if Kovacic was available, he would have played. I know that if Kovacic is not available, if I'm not mistaken, because I read the news, he's injured. I think Kovacic would have played. Now, can Matías Núñez fill that void? I think we haven't seen that yet, but I think he can do that.
So where would you play him on here? Would you play him instead of who?
I would actually. So here's what I would do. I would actually remove Grealish, put Doku, play Rodri and Matías Núñez, and play Bernardo behind.
No Alvarez. You would drop Alvarez.
I will drop Alvarez. Or I would drop Bernardo, which he doesn't do often. You'd
play like this.
Yes. And the creativity would come from Doku's isolation with Konate. Because remember, Trent is going to invert. If Doku gets past Trent, now it's Konate. Now you leave Haaland isolated with Van Dijk. This is, for you, this looks very defensive, right? It looks very defensive, but it's more controlling, in my opinion. I think this is way more controlling than the other one. Because Julian Alvarez is kind of like that player that is always running, always doing stuff, but he isn't like Bernardo. Matías Núñez is supposed to be the guy that keeps the possession, but also helps the defensive. Now Doku doesn't have to defend at all. And now Gvardiol can step up to help Doku on that left side. Because now you have Matías Núñez and Rodri. Rodri is never isolated.
Okay, are you satisfied with these three players in the 100%, Salah? 100%. You're happy with that as the Salah sort of?
100%, because Núñez will help Gvardiol on the left. 100%.
And what would you be saying to Doku in this situation? Would you say
stay high, never
occupy Trent? So
never track back.
Okay, so you basically stop Trent from coming forward.
Exactly. And if Trent wants to go forward, Trent wants to invert in the midfield, you're leaving Doku isolated with Konate, and now Haaland is isolated with Virgil van Dijk. You play one ball behind the top. If they try to press, if Trent inverts and they try to press a little bit, now it's isolation one-on-one all over the pitch. And we know what happens when Man City players are isolated one-on-one against opposition. You normally win that battle.
Well, yeah, it's good.
Battle.
It's gonna be interesting. I mean, if Núñez was to get the go-ahead, this would be the biggest game that he's played in at Manchester City so far. He's only started in one Premier League game so far, and that was Nottingham Forest at home. Every other game he's been brought on off the bench. But I guess at some point he's going to have to play, right? You know, he's got a lot of money on him.
Justify the price tag, right?
Yeah, well, of course. And this is the thing. I don't really understand why we bought him. Maybe if he comes in this game, it would be interesting. But yeah, listen, it's going to be an interesting one, man. Like I say, for me, I think we've got enough to get the win. But Núñez on the counter-attack, if they do play him,
that's why I need the 4 in the back. That's why I need the 4 in the back. If I'm a Man City fan, I'll think, well, I don't want to leave Núñez isolated with Diaz. Diaz isn't the fastest defender in the world. Yeah. I want a coverage. I want someone to mark and someone to cover. One ball over the top from Alisson in a corner kick or something, you're done. You're done. You need more players from a transition, from someone who loses the ball. As you said, it's a tactical battle, but I can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Bro, thank you very much for coming on the show, man. I hope you enjoyed this good 25 minutes there. Guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Remember, this is second channel, so just double check that you are subscribed to the second channel, More LB. And of course, you can find the main channel and Judge Mo in the description. Give us your comments in the comment section below. Guys, I want to know, what would you do in this situation? Are you happy with sort of Mo's suggestion of just having 2 players on Salah, or do you want that extra protection with Grealish, but then potentially leaving Trent Alexander-Arnold with a little bit of space in midfield? It is a dilemma. It is the dilemma that Pep Guardiola's got to solve. Let us know in the comment section. Make sure you drop a like, subscribe to the channel. Guys, I'll catch you in the next one. See you later.